Hey everyone, my name is Madison and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys advice on how you can get a good score on the ACT. As unfortunate as it is, scores matter a lot with college today, and I'm just going to be honest, I got a 34 on my ACT, and as amazing as it made me feel then, right now it's not that big of a deal. So it just goes to show how temporary these things are, but how much they need to be taken seriously. I would not be where I am right now if I did not get the score I got, and I will explain why in a little bit, but here we go. I'm hoping these tips can help you guys improve your standardized test scores, specifically on the ACT, because that is where I chose to focus my time. So let's begin. I have everything typed up on my computer down here, so I'm just gonna be checking down there as we go. First off, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to take a lot of tests and figure out what you're best at. Mostly, I mean the ACT versus the SAT. I took each one twice. I did practice exams to figure this out. So I took each one twice and found out that my best SAT score was worse than my worst ACT score. There's a comparison chart you can find online, but essentially my first time taking the SAT, I found out that I got, or my best time taking the SAT, I had an equivalent score of about a 27 on the ACT, and my worst ACT score ever was a 29. So that kind of, in my mind, after doing it a couple times, yeah, some tests are different than others, but after you do it a couple times, you'll be able to figure out some trends and just figure out what test works better for you. A lot of people don't like the ACT because of the science portion, and because it's so much faster than the SAT. And I'm a math person. I have always been a math person. I'm studying aerospace engineering, if that tells you anything, but the SAT did not work for me because even though there's two math sections, it just did not work for me. I was not a big fan of the reading writing portion at all, and that is definitely my weak point. So I found that the ACT really focused on bettering or worked better for my strengths as far as the science and math portion go, and then helps my writing and reading be even better on that test versus the SAT test, if that makes any sense. So once you figure that out, take a lot of tests. I know they're expensive. There are free ones online you can find. ACT is a little bit harder to find online, but if you're willing to fork out, I took the ACT 3 different times, and every single time, my score did not get better every single time. I want to make that clear. I was able to figure out what I need to do differently for the next time to improve that. And sometimes going from I went from a 31 to a 29 between my first and my second test, and that kind of made me realize, okay, that studying technique did not work. So first piece of advice, or like main piece of advice, is to make a study schedule. Decide how often you will study and what you'll be focusing on. Khan Academy and ACT.org have a lot of awesome resources for you guys to figure out where your weak points are, what you need to focus on, and how you're gonna improve your score. Now, I made it my goal every single day during lunch. I did a practice math test for the ACT leading up to my final one where I got a 34. That really just made me, having a set schedule and having a specific amount of time, not just say, oh, every afternoon, but saying from this time to this time, it really made me focus and think, okay, I can put my phone away, I can put all my distractions away for 45 minutes and really just grind this out. Because even though I didn't always do that great on them, it forced me to sit down and focus and get in that mindset leading up the week before. A lot of people say don't study a lot the day before, and I completely agree, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think I did a little bit on Friday before the test on Saturday. 45 minutes was all it took in the middle of the day. It wasn't me staying up really late, but it was a good way for me to kind of refresh a lot of the skills that I haven't used in a while. And a lot of people will get tutors and things like that. I personally do not think it's worth it. I got an SAT tutor like session thing for $500. I spent $500 on this test and did worse on the SAT than my worst ACT score, okay? It did not help whatsoever. I do not recommend that. Second off, this might actually surprise you guys, but I would suggest find your weak points, but don't focus on them. A lot of people will say your weak points is what is going to bring you down, but if you focus on them too much, it could end up backfiring. I'll explain. So After taking some practice tests and things like that, I realized that my worst portion of the test, the entire test, was the historical reading section of the reading portion of the ACT. After taking, I did probably 5 practice tests, I would never score above 70% on this portion. Okay, it was so bad. Now, if you've taken the ACT, you would know that the ACT is so fast. It is the fastest standardized test you'll probably ever take, as far as how much you have to read and how much you have to do in such a small period of time. So rather than me reading a lot of history passages and really focusing on that, I just said, you know what, screw it. If I'm gonna get a bad score on it anyways, I'm not gonna waste my time. So I would read every single other text. Doesn't matter if it's out of order or not. I might go from the first passage to the third passage to the fourth and come back to the second one if that was the history one and do that last. And I'm gonna let you know, I did not even read the whole thing. I don't think I even read half of the passage, and I still managed to get a 31 in that portion. On the reading portion. Reading has never been my forte. If you guys want a story time, I was kicked out of AP English language because I'm not very good at reading. So I think that because I knew I was going to score bad on it anyways, I thought it's not worth my time to waste all of my time and maybe try to get an 80% in that section if I'm probably not going to do that well anyways. So I went and really focused on all the other sections, came back, picked out some of the easiest questions like, hey yo, what does this word mean in this context? So it'd say, like, it might say, what does the definition of field mean on line 34? So I'd go back, read that one line and answer that question, and all the other ones I just guessed. And it obviously worked out halfway decent. I think if I worked a lot harder on the reading portion, yeah, I maybe could have gotten my score up to maybe a 32 or 33, but at the end of the day, I was at a 34, and a 34 to a 35 in like Princeton's mind is not that big of a deal. Yeah, it'll make a little bit of a difference, but that's probably not going to be what's going to make it or break it for you. And oftentimes with scholarships, once you hit that 33 or 34 mark, you're going to get the same amount of money no matter what score you have above that point, if that makes sense. Now, if you guys know CU Boulder, yeah, I did not get into Princeton, yeah, I did not get into Stanford, but I'm here at CU Boulder studying aerospace engineering, which is the hardest program here, the hardest to get into, and it's number 6 in the country, so let's go Buffs. But I'm here because of the scholarships that I got for my scores, which I think a lot of times when people are taking these tests, I think this is the test that's gonna get me into Duke or whatever, and sometimes that's not what matters. That these are the scores that are going to get you money. These are going to be the scores that keep you out of debt, and that's really important, so keep that in mind. And then going off of not just finding the weak points and not focusing on them, number 3, I would say to choose the things that are easiest to study for. Like I said, I went from a 31 to a 29, and I realized, okay, maybe I should not be focusing, maybe I should be focusing on the things I find easiest to study for, because in there I try to work work on studying for like the science portion and things like that, and I realized like some of these things are hard to study for, and I realized math was the easiest. There's so many math resources out there. It's definite, it's not wishy-washy, there's no opinions, it's this is the right answer and this is why. I found it was the easiest to like reteach myself, the easiest to do without a tutor, so many different things. So I really would suggest focusing on math, even if that's already your strength. Going from a 33 to a 35 on the math portion can make a big difference in your score. If you guys did not know, your scores actually get rounded up. So if you have a 33.5, it'll round to a 34. So you getting 1 point better on a section or two could make a bigger difference than I think most people think it will, depending on how your score has already been rounded and things like that. So try to figure out what you think is going to be the easiest to study for. Next up, the science portion in particular, I can make an entire video about each separate section because there's so much that goes into it. But I think the science portion, a lot of people get hung up and are scared to take the ACT because of the science portion. And they think, oh, I'm not good at science. But I will have you know, I've taken 1 biology class, and that was my freshman year. I've taken 1 chemistry class, and that was my sophomore year. And then I did physics and engineering and computer science classes. And physics, engineering, and computer science are practically never on these ACT exams, right? It's pretty much all chem and bio. And I can This is kind of just goes to show. I got a 35 on the last portion of my science, on the science portion of my final ACT, and I missed one question on the entire test, and I guarantee you it was the equation for photosynthesis. I remember looking at it and it said like, choose which one of the following is the equation for photosynthesis, and I was like, I have absolutely no idea, because the rest of the test literally is just your ability to read graphs. So if you can find practice tests and be able to work on reading graphs and lab reports and things like that, you'll be set. You need zero prior knowledge. Like literally, okay, maybe I would have gotten a perfect score if I knew the equation for photosynthesis, but like it does not make that much of a difference. I would not stress yourself out over how much or how little you know in the science portion, as long as you're focusing on the right things to study for, which in my opinion, I really think it's find what's easiest to study for, which I think for most people it's math, because there's no discrepancy with if something is correct or not, and it's a lot easy. It's really easy to find resources and get help on that, and then practice the science portion. I think a lot of people, it scares a lot of people, and I've had a lot of friends say I did really well on the ACT, but my science score was like 5 points lower, so I couldn't do it. And I think if you just are willing to take the time to like sit down and just focus, and it's like, yeah, reading graphs sounds so boring, but it's so helpful and can really make a difference in your score. And last but not least, I just want to emphasize that Khan Academy and the ACT.org, I'm sure there's a ton of other resources, but those are the ones that I used. They are lifesavers. I really did a lot of the English work. They do a lot of grammar stuff on Khan Academy, which, yeah, it's specifically designed for the SAT, and I decided to focus on the ACT, but the SAT, at least the English portion, there's a lot of stuff that still transfers. The math is a little bit different on the ACT versus SAT. Again, nothing that like outrageous. It's still math. It's still pretty much algebra, a little bit of pre-calc, maybe some trigonometry, like nothing like outrageous geometry, stuff like that. But the English in particular there's a lot of overlap, so I highly recommend looking at that. And then ACT.org, I loved their practice math exams. Go check those out. I highly recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to make any other ACT related videos or college applications, test scores, AP tests, things like that, let me know. I hope this helped you guys. Good luck with your exams, good luck with your tests, and hopefully you get into the schools you hope, or even if you don't, be able to look on the bright side. Like, I'm gonna be here and not come out of school without debt because of these scores. Even though I didn't get into Princeton, may have come out of Princeton with debt. Look on the bright side. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. Peace out. Have an awesome day. Bye.